Hello, and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name is Rob. I will be your host and comrade this evening. We've got a handful of things to discuss tonight. We have some updates in the Rhode Island Unhoused Situation. Actually, we have quite a bit of updates on that topic. We've got I don't know how else to word it, but frankly, insane weather patterns that we're having right now. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Movement for a People's Democracy seminar that took place yesterday with Tom Watts and Jake Hansberry of the White Panther Party. And then, of course, the defense budget. How can we not discuss that at this point? Yeah, I guess Zen will be joining me at some point. Nice to see you, James. Nice to see you, Rob. Of course, I want to remind everybody that our Patreon is live. If you like what we're doing and you want to support, by all means, every dollar helps. We also have a donate button right on the side of our website if you want to make a one-time donation. That is forwearemany.org. Oh, I did not mean to click the Patreon. So we will start with the Rhode Island housing situation. We have an article about this on forwearemany.org, as well as the United Panther Movement statement regarding it. I will share the links to both in the comments. So first, here is our coverage of the court case. The ACLU is seeking a temporary injunction blocking the governor from evicting the homeless encampment at the Capitol building. For well over a month now, there's been an ongoing protest at a homeless encampment at the State House in Rhode Island. The goal of the protest is to draw attention to the very real issue of housing security, which is a top issue for any member of the working class as wages continue to stagnate amongst record level inflation. The average apartment rental in Providence is well over $2,000 a month, with 60% of all apartment rentals being over that mark. Meanwhile, the state's minimum wage is just $12.15. A minimum wage worker in Rhode Island would have to work 49 hours a week just to make enough to pay the average rent. That's not counting a car payment or gas or utilities or food. Yesterday in Rhode Island Superior Court, Judge David Cruz ruled against a temporary injunction filed by the Rhode Island ACLU on behalf of the unhoused individuals at the State House. The defense, on behalf of Democratic Governor Daniel McKee, I want to point out again that he is a Democrat. Democrats are not our friends. Argued that the state can and should regulate how, when, where, and by what means First Amendment gatherings can take place. They use case references from court cases pertaining to the Occupy Wall Street movement, among others. I just want to point out that the capitalist system systematically and brutally crushed the Occupy Wall Street movement. Local police department, sheriff's department, state police, federal agencies, local courts, state courts, and federal courts all teamed up to systematically repress the movement. And this is nothing but a preventative measure aimed at preventing another class-based movement. The tension in the courtroom was immediately noticeable. People were yelled at for stretching, or, like you get screamed at about wearing a hat. Things didn't even start to go in favor of the plaintiffs, who were the unhoused individuals being represented by the ACLU, when it was pointed out that Chief Little lied on his affidavit. He claimed an incident report showed that a member of the cleanup crew was punctured by a hypodermic needle at the encampment, while the incident report clearly states that the crew member did come into contact with, but did not, explicitly stated, did not have their skin punctured by the needle. The judge didn't even mention it. He just moved on. Rhode Island has a homeless Bill of Rights, and the defense argued that the provisions set forth in the homeless Bill of Rights don't apply to the Capitol ground. I raised the question, a public space is a public space, right? At the end of the day, the state patted themselves on the back for housing a couple of the individuals that had been in the encampment, which, by the way, now they're already back out on the streets. They were given hotel rooms long enough to make the media attention stop, not even a week, and they're back on the streets. So there's that. But this completely ignores the facts surrounding the case. This isn't about those specific individuals. It's about the circumstances that lead to what these people are going through. It's about the right to dignity, privacy, security, and of course, the freedom of assembly. This court ruling is a fundamental affront to our most basic of human rights. It is a way of undercutting activist work in the community and more. In the end, it's yet another example of how our injustice system systematically backs the capitalist power structure over the needs of the masses. The court system is simply another arm in the system of oppression. If you are in New England, interested parties can get involved with the Emergency Housing Coalition, which meets at the Mathewson Street Church in Providence, Rhode Island, every Sunday at 4 p.m. I doubt it will be happening on Christmas. That said, there are plans to launch a larger, I guess you could say, project pertaining to this. I mean, we can't just continuously over and over and over again ask the state to do something when they have a vested interest not to. I'm also going to drop the link to the UPM statement about it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I covered a lot of the same things in our article. But I do want to point out the update that the power structure moved to evict the encampment of unhoused protesters the day following that ruling. One of them was incarcerated in the enemy prison system, and all of his belongings were destroyed and sent to a landfill. This is yet another abuse of power, yet more sweeping major issues under the rug. The entire purpose was to get this group of unhoused people out of sight and out of mind. The state didn't even do its own dirty work. They hired a private contractor. And then tent by tent, the workers emptied, slashed, and crushed the private property of dozens of people who have been chased off state property. But pallet shelters, distributions, seizing housing was mentioned in the style, I guess, of the Poor People's Army, which there's a few things about this that I want to cover, but I do have a video. Let's start with that. Now, notice that this group, I guess to start, this group is being led by the Rhode Island Poor People's Campaign. I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, this is the end all be all of what the housing situation is. A relatively silent protest out in front of the state capitol building, I don't think is enough at this point. We need to stop petitioning the state to...
John, are you here? Okay, can you get on the mic? Okay, everybody, we're going to start with housing rights for all. As soon as John gets on the mic.
Anyway, I'm not saying that this is... you know, like the end all be all of what needs to happen around housing. There's a lot of things that can be happening. But the housing situation is not unique
Thank you so much for being here.
to Rhode Island or to New England. This is an across-the-board problem. Average rents might be a little bit different in different places, but if you're looking at the average wage, the differences aren't much. So, I mean, I do think that we should support these protests, but I also think that we should offer meaningful alternatives. You know, pallet shelters, etc. There may be, you know, something down the pipe for that, but we will see.
That would not be by choice.
I love sleeping in chairs. They must be like big lazy boys, right? And you kick your feet up. Is that the kind of chair they got?
No.
No, they don't got that?
No, they don't. In fact, the beds,
Yeah.
did you think, were you imagining that the beds were
Like four posters, like really nice?
Yeah, with really thick mattresses?
Yeah, is it more like a cot?
It's a cot.
An army cot?
It's a cot.
That's tough.
It's a cot. So, we don't think that's good enough for our people in Rhode Island, and we don't believe anyone else believes that either. So, the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start with housing rights for all, our round, and I'm hoping we can make some noise while we are here on this corner in Providence, Rhode Island. So here we go. Housing rights for all people, this is...
I was going to try to show a little bit of each speaker, but
together in a community
there is some
which would help them
weather
to connect to the
right
community
now
that has thrown
part
them
of the
out.
issue.
So like I said, I'll repeat, we need the shelter beds through the hotels. We need the pallet shelters, and we need we need the funding for 500 units of affordable housing. That's what needs to happen. That's the long-term plan, is the housing, because without the housing we can't do it. And it needs to be a long-term plan. I don't want to be here 22 years from now. I have my grandchild out here saying, hey, my grandmother slept underneath the tree, and we're still out here trying to get people homes. That's a shame.
Everybody's got a right to live? Yeah. Everybody has a right to live. Everybody has a right to live, and before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail, because everybody has a right to live. You got it one more time. Hey.
So you get the point. We don't gotta watch the whole video there to really get the idea of what's going on. I do support the Poor People's Campaign coalition and what they're trying to do, but I do think that we need actual solutions. We need support programs. We need skills training. We need to address systemic poverty and how housing is managed. There are a lot of things to be done. And personally, I don't think that having kumbaya moments at the Capitol is the most effective way to create change. But I will support them in their push until they start telling me to vote Democrat. Let's see. So last night this is what the video was from. They had a solstice protest at 7 p.m. And these are the things that they were trying to draw attention to. Over 500 people slept in places not meant for human habitation this week. And the state of Rhode Island is over 400 shelter beds short. Governor McKee promised to have everyone sleeping outside in a bed by Thanksgiving. He's a month late and 400 beds short. That's where they met. Again, I don't think that demanding the government do something is an effective course of action at this point. But again, I will support that. And I mean, I think that we need to get more radical people involved with this coalition and start presenting real, meaningful alternatives. That should be what our focus is. And then I wanted to shout out, actually I have one more thing. I apologize. The governor is implored to take action on the homeless crisis before deaths occur. This is from Uprise, Rhode Island. It's a more progressive, leaning, independent media. So just last week, this encampment of unhoused people in the State House Plaza were evicted, and then the Emergency Housing Coalition held a protest the eve of the solstice, as I said, as hundreds of Rhode Islanders drove past to do their holiday shopping at Providence Place Mall, which is not far. I apologize. I'm trying to get back to my the video here. I apologize. I'm trying to get back to the comments. Exactly, James. Rich people don't like the misfortune being anywhere, but they especially don't like them on the lawn of the State House. Looks like Trisha will be joining us shortly. But so as I said, I'm not going to go over the demands in depth. Hang on, I have to send Natalie a link here. There we go. Ta-da. Sorry for the distractions. I'm not going to go over these in depth. I don't think they go far enough. However, 400 emergency beds. Guarantee that McKee will not evict residents of tent encampments. I don't see that happening. Frankly, I don't care. We need to get these people support. We need to get these people shelter. Without going too deep into the weather situation, tomorrow the high is 54 degrees and the low is 10. It's just going to be, the temperature is going to be dropping like a rock all day. All right, the Cranston Street Armory. Right, so that did get opened. There was 50 cots. That's what the woman from Poor People's Campaign was starting to say in that video. It was supposed to house, it was supposed to be an actual shelter. It was supposed to house 350 people. It's a warming center that has 50 cots. The people that were evicted were told that their belongings were going to be stored. For 30 days, I think it was. Anything that was left behind got smashed, slashed, thrown in a dump truck, and hauled to a landfill. What I'm trying to say is enough is enough. And when I'm advocating more radical type action, what I'm advocating for is like actions like the Poor People's Army, or back in the day there was Occupy Our Homes, right? Which is basically they were doing like eviction defense and actually seizing houses. And these are the same types of actions that the Poor People's Army has been taking for, as I understand it, for decades in Philadelphia. For 3 decades, according to the first paragraph of their little bio here. It's poorpeoplesarmy.com. I'm going to drop that in the comments. Definitely, check them out. It's easy to sign up. The button's right there. But I guess to be fair, what I was going to do is go to the What We Do page. Why did it not? There are 10 unoccupied housing units for every 1 houseless person in Philadelphia. The national average is more like 6 to 1. Right, but like they've been doing this work for 30 years. This is tangibly changing people's lives. And this is from last year, but I want to show a bit of a video.
We have gone to jail literally hundreds of times. We have been setting up encampments for years. It's time to make housing a human right. This is not a question of development. This is not a question of scarcity. This is straight up greed and a misappropriation of funds and priorities.
In many ways, America is like the rich young ruler that came to Jesus and asked, Master, what good thing must I do to inherit eternal life? Sell what you have and give it to the poor. And the scripture said he went away sorrowfully. America is like the rich young ruler. We are moralistic on the outside. We look good on the outside, but inwardly, we are deficient of our care and our desire to bless and sustain the poor.
National Lawyers Guild stands in solidarity with the Poor People's Army as well as the families who are living in these takeover houses. Written into the preamble of National Lawyers Guild and at the very core of the work we do is the belief that human rights are to be valued over property interests.
Both the National NLG and the Housing and Homelessness Committee strongly support the Poor People's Army and the self-organization of people who are poor, of people who are unhoused, and those who are redistributing homes that belong to the people, represented by this takeover house and many others. Even before the pandemic, we were in a crisis of evictions and homelessness, despite enough vacant housing and wealth to house everybody who needs it. Now, 10 million families are behind on rent. This includes 1 in 3 Black families. Millions are without housing at all in a pandemic.
When the government is not able or not willing to protect its own people and honor its obligations under internationally recognized human rights laws and agreements, that the people will step in and do that. And so I urge the legal community here in Philadelphia to stand with the Poor People's Army, to stand with all of those who are experiencing houselessness right now, and stand with these families.
Where they were crowing that they were going to put 400 families into housing for $60 million. Now, I can do math. That's $150,000 a family. We put people in houses for less than $1,000. Maybe because we haven't even got $1,000.
Right. We have these sanctuary cities. A lot of mayors get a lot of press and they get a lot of clicks and a lot of likes and they get to boost their profile. But are they sanctuary cities when they are filled with thousands of homeless people?
But if our federal government and cities refuse to provide housing for everyone, safe housing, affordable housing, dignified housing, universal housing, then we will build and support movements to take the housing that people need.
And if we want to, we as people in this country can step forward and decide, okay, we're developing the political will, no more babies on the streets. Let's institute a zero tolerance on homelessness, and let's begin to identify as many abandoned properties as possible. Let's do the morally right thing, as Pastor Collins said,
to dismantle this cruel and broken housing system and to build in its place something like what we've seen here today.
And let's begin to take these families in mass and let's get our children off the streets of this country and start housing them.
All right. I just the next is topic. Sorry, the next topic is going to be about Germany convicting a 97-year-old Nazi. Give me just a second here. I'm adding a restream bot to our Discord. I guess I did not realize that I could do that. So give me just a moment here. Oh, what did I do? But it was there. Why? Where? Oh, there it is. It was in a pop-up window, of course it was. Give me, as I said, just one moment. I have to click the ladybug photos to prove that I'm a human. No way that a robot could ever identify ladybugs. That will be in the current event show section on our Discord, effective right now. Speaking of Discord, I have a link I'm going to drop in the comments. If you would like to join our Discord, it's open to anyone and everyone, as long as you're not a chud and as long as you agree to the rules that you will see before you, before you even are able to do something. Let's see. All right, so back to the show. I apologize. This is a whole lot easier to do with two people. Trisha should be on momentarily, I'm hoping. I'm going to, like I did last week, I'm going to pin the Discord link. Obviously, it's still growing. There's 20-something people in there, but when conversations do get going out there, it's cool. Like I said, it's just cool to be able to interact with people potentially all over the country in real time. We can keep each other informed on what's going on. We can, build intercommunal networks from across the continent. That's pretty cool. Anyway, on to this story about this German court here. Irmgard Furchner, accused of being part of the apparatus that helped the Nazis Stutthof concentration camp function, appears in court for the verdict in her trial in Itzehoe, Germany. Itzehoe? I'm not sure. This was on Tuesday. What was that notification sound? I thought maybe it was Trisha joining, but it's not. Yeah, James, I get that Discord is kind of weird. It's taken me a bit to get used to it too. That's why we haven't made as good of use historically with the Discord as we should have, but I think we're on the right path now. We've got a pretty good group of people in there so far, and the more the merrier. As time goes on, as that platform grows, we will probably be using our Facebook less. Speaking of which, I guess I should. It's the Discord notifications. That's so funny. Okay. How do I notifications? There we go. Just want to turn off the thing. Oh, disable notification sounds. There we go. Got it. Anyway, again, I apologize for the distractions. The state court in northern Germany gave her a 2-year suspended sentence. Wow, for being an accessory to murder in 10,505 cases and an accessory to attempted murder in 5 cases. The court said judges were convinced that Furchner knew, and through her work as a stenographer in the commandant's office of the Stutthof concentration camp from June 1st, 1943 to April 1st, 1945, deliberately supported the fact that 10,505 prisoners were cruelly killed by gassings and by hostile conditions in the camp, by transportation to the Auschwitz death camp, and by being sent on death marches at the end of the war. There's da 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 da. Natalie said, look, we can now send stars as supportive for We Are Many. I'm assuming she's talking about on Facebook. That's pretty cool. Huh. Well, that's pretty cool. Thanks for the stars. Appreciate that, Natalie. Point is, though, she got a 2-year sentence for over 10,000 cases of murder. Just think about that. And because she's 97 years old, it was suspended because she's going to die before she even gets into a prison system if she appeals it. But the verdict and the sentence were in line with prosecutors' demands. Defense lawyers had asked for the client to be acquitted, arguing that the evidence had been shown beyond doubt that Furchner knew about the systematic killings at the camp, meaning there was no proof of intent. Germany is one of the few countries outside of the former USSR that really denazified, and really that was because East Germany was a communist regime. But I mean, on one hand, it's good that they're still trying these Nazis and finding them guilty today. On the other hand, compared to the punishments they were doling out in 1945, a 2-year suspended sentence.
Right. That's not a real sentence. It's a little late. It's a day late and a dollar short, kind of like me today. Hi, I finally made it.
Welcome. In her closing statement, Furchner said she was sorry for what had happened and regretted that she had been there.
Well, that doesn't make up for anything, but okay.
No, it really doesn't.
You know,
There's not a
Not
whole
that
lot
there is-
more useful stuff in the article, but I did put the article in the comments in case, you know, somebody's interested in reading more of it. You're just in time for the next topic, though. The union activity update. We have, you know, weekly updates from Railway Workers United. They're doing a fundraiser thing that we're going to share. Starbucks Workers United just wrapped up their Red Cup strikes. And I mean, you know, if anybody in the comments, sorry, has any other suggestions, or not suggestions so much as like information about other striking workers, we are always ready to, you know, platform that. I guess, though, we should start with the Railway Workers United. So first things first, let me put in the comments this GoFundMe link. It's simply titled Railroad Workers United Support Our Struggle. Their goal is $25,000. They are at $22,375.
right on.
You know, I'm not saying that the viewers in here are going to push them over that, but I'd really like to see them, you know, make their goal. This is, you know, strike funds, basically. And I also want to point out the Railroad Workers United is open to allies. It's kind of a broad scale union. It's specifically for railroaders. Obviously, they're the ones that run the union and get the votes. It's not part of the bigger corporate unions. It's an independent, you know, large, like over the whole thing. Like think the IWW, but not to the same extent, if that makes sense. But the point is that this is rank and file workers that got sick of the bullshit with the mainstream unions, started their own. And you can join as a dues paying member as an ally. And if you have the funds to do so, I would never argue against that. But yeah, they're calling basically for nationalization of the railways, and for fucking sick time, for the love of God.
Right.
And then this is just a sample of the organizations that have sent the RWU, you know, financial assistance, advice, words of encouragement, statements of solidarity. This is just a dozen of them. The list is bigger than that, or the whole list is bigger than that. The American Postal Workers Union. Now, keep in mind, these are the people that deliver your mail. There's a lot of them, and that's a big union. That's a union that you want to have on your side. And even though they're federal employees, they wrote one of the most comprehensive and militant letters of solidarity. The letter, in effect, calls for public ownership of the railroad network. Jesus. I'm okay, I promise.
You all right?
Okay. This is dated December 2nd. They immediately invoked the Great Postal Strike of 1970 that laid the foundation for the standard of living, rights, and benefits that we enjoy today as postal workers, including our right to collective bargaining. Let's not forget that the Great Postal Strike of 1970, if I recall, was a wildcat strike because the government wasn't acknowledging the union.
Of course they didn't want to. It's actual government employees, and they're probably, you know, were of the mind of like, how dare you unionize against us? Like, because it's needed, motherfuckers. At least for them. Unlike pigs, your mail delivery folks are actual working class.
I like this part. Many labor leaders claim that Joe Biden is the most pro-union president. While we appreciate that President Biden has expressed pro-union sentiments, has strengthened the National Labor Relations Board, nominated a pro-union Secretary of Labor, and signed the Postal Service Reform Act, the labor struggle in rail was a fundamental test of which side are you on, to quote the old labor song. This administration and the majority of the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives and Senate failed the test by imposing a TA rejected by workers and without legislating paid sick time and fair scheduling. Unfortunately, the AFL-CIO's top leadership failed to organize a united resistance to the pending congressional action against the railroad workers, nor have they condemned Congress's overriding the workers' collective bargaining rights along with their right to strike. So, you know, that was kind of like, well, you know, yeah, okay, Biden, yeah, pro-union, okay, a couple of like fucking things, but which side are you on?
Right.
And then, you know, like in that same paragraph, to bring the hand coming back across the AFL-CIO it's kind of nice. Oh yeah, I want to show. This is kind of like not at all relevant to what I'm talking about right now, but I have a couple of things that I want to show. This is more or less just I have to take off the virtual background, but there we go, to do this. But stickers, hold on, let me turn down that light so these stickers are glossy. But stickers from the Connecticut John Brown Gun Club, right? Obviously that's John Brown. Around the edge it says, "I don't argue with people John Brown would have shot." And then inside that it says anti-fascist, anti-capitalist, pro-worker, pro-black liberation, and pro-LGBTQ plus. A Huey P. Newton quote. I love that, you know, it's the John Brown Gun Club, but like 2 of the 4 stickers that they offer are Black Panthers. But the Huey P. Newton, this one says theory and praxis. And then the Huey P. Newton quote is, there can be no real freedom until the imperialist world enemy number one has been stripped of his power. And then, of course, fight fascism, defend equality, again with John Brown. But if you want to, purchase some of these stickers and support the Connecticut John Brown Gun Club, I will drop that in the chat as well. Also, if you have a local John Brown Gun Club, I highly recommend checking them out. There's the link to their shop. Anyway, back to this. The next union is the Association of Flight Attendants. They work under the RLA just like the railroaders do. The Green Party, of course, the Green Party issued a statement of solidarity with workers. They are one of the largest and longest running third parties in the U.S. Great to see them speaking up in support of railroad workers. 500 plus historians signed a letter of solidarity with rail workers and urged Biden to do the right thing. RWU is in the process of making contact with them to work together. Imagine that. People who've studied history are on the side of labor.
Right? Seems to be a connection there.
Yeah. So while the Postal Service threw shade at the AFL-CIO, the RWU is recognizing specifically the Vermont AFL-CIO, stating one of the most forward-thinking state labor federations in the country weighs in with their support of railroad workers. The Labor Network for Sustainability, the RWU is part of the coalition of the Labor Network for Sustainability, but obviously they've issued a statement of solidarity. Solutionary Rail, International Longshore Workers Union, United Electrical Workers, United Steel Workers, La Coalition Rail Safety Campaign, and then there was a rally in New York City. There was a verbal statements from a bunch of different groups. I am going to send that link. It's a YouTube video. Obviously, I'm not about to play an hour-long YouTube video on the show, but if anybody wants to circle back and watch that later, let's see, what else do we got? Oh yeah, Starbucks Union, Red Cup. I have another link. It's a map of stores that struck for the Red Cup Day strikes. And also this is on the Starbucks Workers United webpage. So you also have, you can just click home from that to get more information or to donate or whatever other forms of support you're able to. But I am gonna zoom in a little bit and see Arizona, the union locations looks like. Indian School and 107th Ave in Avondale. Power Road and Baseline is a union store though. I think that the other one was working on it, but I don't know if they ever won their vote. Quite a few up the West Coast, from LA up to Vancouver, Denver, Colorado, Utah had some activity. Strikes in Texas, who would have thought? Let's see if any of the Rhode Island, there's not many because Duncan owns everything here. But there was some striking Starbucks locations. It looks like 6 of them in Boston, in and around Boston, I should say. Let's look down by New York City. Oh yeah, another half a dozen or so. But you can find out, you know, where the which stores had strikes, and you know, support them. I mean, now that the strike's over, it's not like you're crossing the picket. You know. But this is just a few weeks after their first national strikes, and this is at more than 100 stores. That's no small feat. And then, you know, that's their second strike in just a few weeks, and it was the longest national strike to date during Starbucks' busiest weekend of the year. And they were also protesting the retaliatory closures of union stores in Seattle, Chicago, and Ithaca, New York. And then they also included a bunch of statements from strikers. I'm not going to go through all of them for the sake of time, I guess. I mean, we started late, and it's, you know, coming up on a holiday. I mean, I'm glad that there's actually people watching it. I didn't really know earlier today if that was going to be the case or not, because so many people are already, well, let me rephrase. Some people are, you know, like getting ready for the holiday, and everybody else is sick.
Right.
Or both.
The tightrope between the two.
Oh man, so this should be a fun topic. I think, let me double check. I think this is going to be the last topic, but it's also the biggest topic. Oh, actually, no, we have 2 left because one's the weather, which is also going to be a big topic. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, the defense budget for 2023. I forgot to click that first. There we go. We always have money for war, but we never have money for the poor. And, you know, seeing as this got like passed right before Christmas, I mean, that's just symbolic of, I guess, how empty that holiday is to a lot of the people that claim to uphold it. Which, you know, like, I'm not trying to like throw shade at anybody for their religion by any stretch of the imagination. But anyone who can end up being a capitalist and claiming to be a Christian, like, I mean, seriously, just read the Gospel of Luke and then come back and tell me that you're going to continue living the way you are and still get into heaven, if it exists. I mean, I'm not here to say whether it does or doesn't, but I mean, really pay attention to the religion that you claim to uphold, because if Jesus did exist, he was sure as shit a socialist.
Right. He was not white and he was not capitalist. He was brown and communist. For fuck's sake. Sorry, but there's nothing capitalist about the giving away of free food, free health care, standing staunchly against the system, against usury, the whole fucking 9 yards. Yeah, no, Jesus was not a capitalist.
You ever notice, though, how they, like, when it comes to, like, things that go against what they say, they'll be like, oh, no, that's a metaphor. Like, but, okay, so, like, they'll take the entire Old Testament, like, at its face value, right? Like, yes, the whole world flooded. It certainly wasn't just a region, and the earth is 6,000 years old because the Bible said so. And, well, first of all, I mean, you know, there's the whole thing of interpretation. I mean, okay, it took God 6 days to create the heavens and the earth, but like, if you look at God as the energy that is everywhere in abundance in the universe, and you look at a day as a rotation of said universe, you know, we're not talking about a literal week here. We're talking about probably millions or billions of years. I mean, you know, but all of that is literal, right? But you know, a rich man has as good of a chance of getting into the kingdom of God as a camel has of fitting through the eye of a needle. Oh, that's a metaphor. Like, no, come on.
Right. It's like, no, it flips that around, because the former was the metaphor and the latter is literal.
Right.
Like, no. And that's one thing that really shakes my damn head at these prosperity gospel fucks who exploit everything for personal gain. And it's like, you know, if Jesus were to come back today, he would smite the fuck out of you. Like, you're profiteering off it. You're literally, you know, making millions to billions off of your mega churches and preaching that blessed is he who gets wealthy by exploiting the labor of others, and that being poor is a curse. And excuse me, Jesus said the opposite.
Right. I mean,
So,
you know, Christ dined with the poor. He dined with prostitutes. You know, like he washed. Okay, and like, you know, just to put this in a Panther context, right? Like, he washed the feet of sinners, right? He served the people. Like, I'm not saying that Jesus was a Black Panther, but I'm kind of saying that Jesus was a Black Panther.
right. He had the Panther mentality for sure. You know?
Right.
And it's pretty, like, I'm atheist, but I was raised in a very fundamentalist Christian home. And I don't know how many times I have had to have these conversations with Christians and literally fucking start pulling Bible quotes for them. And it's like, why is it that an atheist has to teach you the things that your pastor is not? Here's all these Bible verses you have ignored for your entire life.
Right.
Like, if you were actually practicing this religion properly, you would not be pro-capitalist, pro-state, any of those. You wouldn't be a fucking bigot. Jesus was about love, not hate. Love thy neighbor does not mean asterisk fine print if they meet your stupid fucking criteria of how you think their life should be lived. It is a very simple, straightforward statement that doesn't have any ifs, ands, or buts or fine print of where you can say, but I don't have to love this person because they're gay. Like, fuck your bigotry. But
yeah,
I digress.
Let's see here. I have a meme that I want to show, but I'm just gonna like share it into the chat and then pull it up in there. Two things actually, because one I forgot to even put on the list. So I'm just gonna briefly touch on this, right? Let me go back to the screen share here. Shit. So I wanted to like show this guy's face, right? Because I want to congratulate this guy on creating the fast track to the reunification of the Korean Peninsula. The president of South Korea is considering an increase in the working hours of up to 80 hours a week.
Fuck that.
Yeah. But to get a little bit more back on topic here, actually I'll show this one too. This is not relevant at all. The next one will be. But like, to get back on topic, I wanted to talk about the defense budget for 2023 because the government omnibus spending bill was passed, and you know, of course, there's more money for Ukraine. Oh, and Zelensky addressed a joint session of Congress today. I don't even want to really fucking cover that. But
I'm just curious how many billions more his pathetic Nazi ass is begging for now.
well, I don't know,
And
but
why
they're
the
sending
fuck-
them fucking Patriot missile systems now.
Why the fuck do we keep having money to throw at Nazis, but not to throw into food, education, and healthcare here?
And
Love to
housing.
know. And housing.
Yeah. Fucking exactly. But this meme should hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
It's so the picture is from, was it yesterday or today? I don't even remember anymore. From Zelensky's joint house or joint congressional, there we go, address. I forget if it was last night or today. But it's Pelosi and Kamala Harris holding up a Ukrainian flag. Superimposed on the flag are the words, U.S. taxpayer dollars are being laundered through Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop, and Boeing, while homeless Americans freeze to death this Christmas weekend.
Yep.
Yep.
Corporate profits and funding Nazis. That's where our fucked up asshole government fucking priorities are at.
Yeah, so how much is the dollar? $858 $858, I wish. $858 billion Defense Act. This was December 15th. It passed the Senate. Of course, Biden signed it. But you remember how like Trump had the biggest fucking military budget of all time, after Obama had the biggest military budget of all time, after Bush 2 had the biggest budget military budget of all time, all the way back, all the way to fucking either Kennedy or LBJ, probably, when you know, this mass, like the Cold War, whatever, ramped up. And then, you know, like, okay, the Cold War is over, we don't need to do this anymore, but yet we're still spending more and more and more. But like the Democrats were talking about how for Trump to do it was a waste of money, but then they come back and make the budget even bigger. $45 billion more than what was proposed by Biden. And they rescinded the military's COVID vaccine mandate, which is like one thing that Biden was like, you know, hard on early on, but they don't give a shit. And I think it just shows, you know, how the Democrats operate. They back down at every confrontation. Remember, the Democrats are the original fascists in this country. They're the ones that spawned the KKK. It wasn't until Tom Watson, the movement for People's Democracy, which I want to talk about that briefly after this, before we close on the weather. But Tom Watson at the Movement for a People's Democracy thing yesterday pointed this out. The Democrats are the original fascists, right? Democrats supported slavery, right? Okay. Democrats spun the KKK. You know, Jim Crow laws, Democrats, right up to the civil rights fight, right? Like the Democrats were the ones that were primarily opposing the Civil fucking Rights Act. And then, you know, like with Nixon, the Republicans took a step to the right of the Democrats, and they've been racing to the right ever since. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Like, you know, we cannot allow this narrative to continue. Like, they might the Democrats might appear nicer now, but they've always been the fascist party. Just because Trump was more vocal doesn't mean that he was any less or more of a fascist than President Joe Biden. But yeah, $858 billion. And the Senate passed this
What? Can
with
you
the
pull it up real quick?
83-11 bipartisan majority. Sorry, that was, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I started the interrupting first, but I thought you were done with your sentence. I'm just curious how that $858 billion that they want for that compares to our total GDP for the year. I'm curious. I'm super fucked.
Not sure.
There is no fucking way, with only 350 million people roughly in our population, and it being a significant number of those that are either children or elderly or disabled and therefore not working, that how is there even a tax basis for even just the military budget alone being that fucking big? And that's why
there isn't a tax basis. That's the whole thing.
It's borrowing dollars that don't fucking exist.
Yeah.
In value that has been created to overinflate the military-industrial complex.
Well, yeah, which is just making things harder and harder on people like us. I mean, they're not even making that back in taxes. That's literally exacerbating inflation. And then, the Federal Reserve is going to keep jacking up interest rates on loans and on currency. And I mean, we already owe so much more money than even exists. Right. I mean, this government has shown itself to be incapable. Well, it's not even incapable. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, to keep money in the hands of the capitalist class.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, everything is getting worse for everyone. Meanwhile, the state of Rhode Island is telling its citizens that we don't have enough money to fully open the Cranston Street Armory with 350 beds as a shelter instead of a warming center. That doesn't even address the fact that that's not enough to fix the fucking problems, right? But even just for him to keep his word is too much, right? I mean, at some point we just have to carry on as if they don't matter. I mean, because basically at this point, I forget who coined the phrase socialism or barbarism, but that's where we're at. I mean, the choice is socialism or no butterflies for our grandchildren. I mean,
it just kills me because the hundreds of millions that they have available just for, addressing homelessness in Rhode Island would go so much further with actually buying people housing than to continue wasting it, throwing it at a fucking nonprofit org running a fucking warming shelter that's a temporary fucking fix that doesn't actually really fucking help, and that most of that money is being siphoned the fuck off instead of actually helping the people that need it.
What did I just say I was going to talk about before the weather, other than this?
I don't fucking know. I'm a space cadet today, so
it's okay. But I mean, I guess that was kind of supposed to be a segue into the next topic anyway, the insane weather across the continent. When I say socialism or barbarism, I mean capitalists are literally destroying the planet. Eco-fascists might have you think that it's you and me driving our gas cars. No, it's the military primarily. first and foremost. It's the military. And
second,
it's mega corporations.
Yep.
Yeah. But the Midwest is seeing an Arctic blast that's insane. I mean, like literally the maps don't have a color for how cold it's getting in the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Most of you watching, I assume, know Vicky. She's been on the stream quite a few times over the last couple of years, and she sent a screenshot. It's actually in the Discord. She sent a screenshot of her weather app today in Nebraska, and it was -9 degrees was the actual temperature. This is like 5 o'clock, by the way. It's not like, now.
It's colder now. The sun's down.
Right. It was -9 degrees, and the feels like temperature was -34. But the lows tonight in the Dakotas are like -58. That's not the wind chill.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And
then
there's already been problems all the way through there up into like Wisconsin of power outages, as well as house fires happening because people are having no choice but to, use like wood burning stoves and fireplaces that might not necessarily have been maintenance recently enough to make use of, but they have no choice when their power goes out, and it's causing house fires. Like, this is devastating.
Yeah. And I mean, well, after Christmas, more than likely, we might have to do like a special piece on the impact of the system. I think that this is the worst polar vortex event that I can think of. And I mean, it's not just the frigid temperatures there. The Great Lakes Basin is looking at ridiculous amounts of snow, like 18 to 20 inches for parts of Western Michigan, for example.
Right.
And then the eastern coast of Lake Huron, when they get their lake effect snow, that storm is supposed to stall over Lake Huron, which is what causes lake effect snow, if you didn't know that. And that's just going to dump. I mean, it's probably going to be more than it is on the east coast of Lake Michigan. We're looking at 2 feet plus of snow in some areas, combined with, blizzard conditions means high winds as well. I mean, there's going to be power outages. There's going to be trees down. There's going to be, and then, the frigid temperatures swinging in right behind it. And I mean, here, luckily, we're not getting anything crazy as far as snowfall or anything like that. But I mean, we're supposed to get a half an inch of rain tonight, then it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow. The high tomorrow is 54 degrees and the low is 10. I mean, a 44-degree split between day and night is like Arizona shit.
Right. Right. Definitely contending with that.
Yeah, because I mean, you've been there for a while now. When that sun goes down, the temperature drops like a rock in the wintertime. Like, it actually gets pretty damn cold in the desert at night. But I mean, like a 40-something degree split is just insane for the East Coast.
Yeah, at least there in the Midwest, there is typically enough cloud cover to trap some warmth from the day. That is a severe cold snap for up there.
Yeah. And I mean, I work on Christmas Eve, so we'll see how that goes. But of course, they're already talking about be prepared for power outages, and I mean, the generator's ready to go. We'll be fine, but that's part of the reason I'm not as prepared as I'd like to be for the stream. I had to stack wood today. make sure I had kindling split, and
Right.
make sure the generator's
I'm
accessible.
I'm thankful you guys have, like, been regularly making use of your wood burning stove and had that maintenance last summer, if I remember right, and stuff. So, like,
Well, I mean, the
you guys
previous owners did, yeah.
yeah, you guys are safe using yours. So at least I know you guys will be okay. But
Yeah.
there's so many
I mean,
people having to resort to that who are used to using the regular furnace that it worries me. Like, if the flues and stuff haven't even been cleaned recently, like, that's a fire hazard.
Yeah. Yeah. As a reminder, if you do burn wood, that should be done in most cases yearly. Like, I mean, if that's your primary source of heating, I'm saying, then yearly. If you only use it a few times a year, then I mean, whatever, not necessarily yearly, but keep up on it.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason that we don't really use our like actual fireplace, is because, well, I mean, the guy was like, well, we didn't have it done at the same time. You should probably get it done if you're going to be using it regularly. But I mean, we had a small fire in it when we put up our Christmas decorations, and we'll probably do the same thing on Christmas, but like, it's not worth it to have that burning if we have the the wood burning stove that actually like circulates.
Right.
Because the fireplace only keeps that little area warm anyway.
Right.
Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here. I want to like pull up some maps and all that shit. So right now it is 42 degrees, feels like 35, the low is 24. And then tomorrow, oh, it went down a degree. The high is 53 and the low is 10. My bad. But it's supposed to rain pretty much fucking all day. Like straight through from now until, well, it kind of goes down in the middle of the day, I guess. Late morning, it goes down to like 50%, and then it goes back up to 80. And then the wind follows it, and 4 o'clock 46 degrees, and then 5 o'clock 41 degrees, and it's just all downhill from there at about that pace. And that's
All that
just right, and that's just here. I'm gonna zoom out and do this future radar deal, and I'm gonna screen share. Give me just a second. That out of the way. Play. Look at the size of that storm, first of all. And then look over here. There ain't shit behind it. That's where it's super cold. So, like, I kind of wish, I wonder if it has like a jet stream. No, but it does have a wind speed indicator. So you see all this where there was no clouds. I mean, obviously it's not getting as cold down here in Texas, but like, you know, Nebraska and the Dakotas and Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin are all getting hit with that super cold shit. And the wind is part of the reason why. Actually, hold on. Let me stop this screen share and see if I can find a jet stream map. Because, I mean, I know that we've covered it last year, you know, like what the polar vortex is, but I want to show everybody why it's getting so cold there and why all of this weather is being pushed out of the way. I don't know where Schiller Park is in Illinois, but it is -1 right now there. And I mean, that was outside of what was, you know, super cold. Okay, there is an animation here. Cool. So let me screen share again. So the wind speed. So this is where the jet stream is sitting right now. Basically on the western border of the Dakotas in Nebraska. So everything in this little pocket right here is just like dire cold. Pretty much everything up through like right here is going to be like dire cold. That air is being sucked down. I don't know why I just fucking tried to like gesture like you can see it. But the air that's seeping down is from the Arctic, literally. And basically climate change, the globe is getting warmer, right? And that makes the polar vortex, which is usually in place over the North Pole, less stable. So like when it dips down like this, I mean, this is a pretty serious dip down for that matter. You know, it sucks all this cold air down with it. And, you know, it can be a quite violent thing, you know, like when it snaps back up and, you know, throws the other side out of whack. But this is from this morning till tonight. But you know, this cold wind being brought back up by the jet stream is exactly what's causing the blizzard-like conditions that we're seeing over the Great Lakes region. So I pulled up the temperature and wind maps. Lots of -11s, -12s. And these aren't, you know, like feels like, these are actual temperatures. Let me zoom out a little bit more. 62, is that in somebody's house?
It's gotta be.
But yeah, I mean, you know, like actually it's worse behind where the well, actually, I guess that makes sense because Wyoming is in the mountains, but look at that, -34. You know, even look at Nevada, 28, 27, 23, 20. And well, I can't say too much about Arizona. That's not too far out of the ordinary there in Phoenix and Tucson. But yeah, I mean, -25 feels like -26. Surprisingly, it's not that way. I thought it was supposed to be windy out there too, but luckily it's not. But I mean, these are, like I said, not feels like temperatures. That's the actual temperature, -27
Right.
degrees. So let's I didn't mean to zoom out quite that far. So let's take a look at this gigantic system over the last day. We'll look at the past first, and then we'll look at the future. And yes, that is snow in Kentucky, by the way. But like, hold on, let me pause it right here. Okay, so 8 degrees, right? And then on the other side of the jet stream, 46 degrees. That's in the same state, you guys. Like I said,
Right.
Tomorrow our high is 54 and our low is 10. That is why.
Right. It's like it's pulling that cold air in behind it. I wonder if that's a pressure thing. I'm no meteorologist or anything, but kind of makes you wonder if it's got to do with the pressure behind the system there, helping like draw some of that further south.
I mean, probably. I'm not totally sure. I mean, I do know that the jet stream steers weather activity, you know, under normal circumstances, but I don't know all of the, I don't even know what word to use, all the nooks and crannies of the, I forgot what I was even saying. I got so distracted. Anyway, so future though, let's check out the next 24 hours or so. Looks like Nova Scotia might get smacked by this. I mean, that's some pretty heavy rain, but it's also pretty far out to sea, so that's not too uncommon. But I mean, you see how a mass of this system has just kind of like stayed parked over Michigan.
Yeah, it's just hovering.
Well, I mean, you can see it like kind of, you know, like rotating and stuff, but like all of this rain that's moving up, there's it's finally starting to clear up. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty significant amount of snow. Now let's switch this over to precipitation and take a look at it. Oh, I didn't. Okay, there we go. I was like, I didn't realize it was going to get rid of the radar. It's going to take a second to load. It always does. This app is Weather Underground, by the way. Like you can, like people with weather stations, you can link up to it. So, you know, like especially if you're in like a rural area or, you know, on the opposite side of a city from the airport, you can get more localized precipitation readings, wind speed readings, temperature readings, that kind of thing, which is why I like this app. It's my primary weather app on my phone. So is it going to show me the precipitation or not?
All right,
Oh my
while you're
goodness.
waiting for that load, I'm going to do some precipitation in my water cup.
Fair enough.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, that's frustrating. So looking at a lot of cloud cover pretty much across the board. Quite a bit of precipitation, as we already discussed. And you know, we're already looking at a fucking inch of rain in North Carolina by midnight tonight. So yeah, just wanted to, you know, like make sure everybody knows, like, seriously, be safe. You know, try to have candles, flashlights, emergency blankets. If you have a generator, make sure you have gas. Make sure that you turn off your main circuit breaker before you flip the generator on. Holy crap, there's a lot of comments. I apologize. A lot of staying below zero probably through Saturday. That's how it was when my mom passed away and I went to Michigan. That was rough. Hi, Austin. Good to see you. Agreed, James. Get the backup heat source and a big blanket. Wow, Austin, your high is 5 and low is 1. Yeah, Austin, I mean, if that's what you have to do, then, you know, do it. James suggested a portable kerosene heater. Don't do that in a tiny room. Make sure that you have, you know, space to let it air out. But yeah, I mean, propane heaters, kerosene heaters. Yeah, it's not ideal. Yeah, if you're not careful, it can kill you. But like, if you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice.
Right. Just make sure you crack a window or two so you have ventilation so you don't fucking die from carbon monoxide.
Right. Natalie asked if I know how many unhoused people in Rhode Island are there approximately out in the cold tonight. I don't know the exact number. It is slightly over 400 last I knew. That being said, I mean, you know, there is no way to know if that number is complete. There is likely more than that, but the official count, I want to say, was like 406 or something like that. That's just in Providence, I should say. In Rhode Island,
say, like, what's Providence? Yeah.
Yeah. I know that statewide, most of the homeless in Rhode Island are in and around Providence, and that doesn't mean all of them are. But anyway, Natalie went on to say, I just can't even imagine anything as inhuman that our country allows anyone to freeze out on our streets. And yeah, I mean, that seems like exactly what's pretty much happening across the board. I mean, you know, Phoenix evicted an unhoused encampment in the downtown area because it was scary to business owners or whatever. You know, here it was the government officials were scared. But housing is a serious across the board issue. I already shouted them out kind of at length earlier, but I just want to shout out the Poor People's Army, or if you want to know more about these types of projects, go to YouTube and type in Occupy Our Homes. Poor People's Army, though, poorpeoplesarmy.com, they've been doing it for like 3 decades. And I absolutely encourage checking them out. James, my backup heat source is still my main heat source. It's the wood stove. I mean, you know, if I lose power, then I got to get the generator running. But I mean, really, the main things to keep powered are the furnace and the fucking fridge. Like, the rest of the shit don't really matter.
Right.
Natalie and Austin are talking about the system being broken, the low-income heating assistance plan, or heating and energy assistance plan, I think is what LIHEAP stands for. LIHEAP. But yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything else to add. This is after, literally, as I was putting this together, I realized, like, holy shit, literally last week, there was also like a wild, crazy storm that, you know, dumped snow on parts of the country, dumped a huge amount of rain on more of the country and spun off tornadoes and stuff. And then now here we are a week later going into yet another crazy storm. I just want to remind everybody, climate change is here. And like, I don't mean to sound like over dramatic or anything, but it's socialism or barbarism. Those are our options. Well, I don't really think that I have anything else specific to cover. But I mean, you know, like, in your community, for the love of God, if you see a homeless person out and about, you know, this weekend is going to be fucking brutal. You know, like if you have any extra money laying around, just get some hand warmers, or if you've got some old blankets that you don't need, give them out, or you know, food, coats, rain gear, any sort of shelter that you have. You know, like seriously, this is brutal between the rain, the snowfall, the wind. You know, the situation's about to get a whole lot worse for people who already have nothing.
It's fucking frightening that, you know, we're dealing with these extreme temps. We're gonna be hearing a lot of fucking reports from all over the country of how many deaths there are from this, from exposure. All because we're not funding real housing solutions. This is fucking shameful that in the quote-unquote wealthiest fucking country in the world, that this is how those who are best off in it treat those who are worst off in it. Like they're disposable.
Austin said, I have a feeling it's going to be a really hot summer. And I think that you are spot on with that assessment. We've been seeing, right? Well, let's not forget the last 2 summers in Siberia, the fucking place has been on fire.
Right. Hell, there was wildfires in England too, which is like unheard of.
Yeah, like what the hell does England even have to burn? I mean, they emaciated that landscape 500 years ago.
It's fucking insane. But that's what global climate change is it's hitting extremes in both directions. And it's brutal in both cases, you know? Over the summer, we're having deaths because of extreme heat, and in many places combined with extreme humidity that fucking suffocates you. And now in the winter, people are going to freeze to death outside. We've got to do this.
Right. So, I mean, you know, just to reiterate, we do have options. You know, if all you're able to do is a little bit of distribution, you know, do it. If all you're able to do is raise a little bit of funds to buy some hand warmers or, you know, warm clothes or blankets or whatever, do it. And then on the other hand, you know, if you've got a few people, you know, like hold some classes, like make sure people know how to build and maintain fires. You know, like look into pallet shelters, teach one another how to build pallet shelters. You know, like, yeah, it might not, you know, be the best shelter ever, right? But it's something. Or, you know, like better yet, if you have enough people and enough empty buildings that are, you know, like owned by a government or a bank or whatever, seize them bastards. Like, we're running out of options very quickly. I just to circle back to the Rhode Island situation, a minimum wage worker needs to work 49 hours a week, every week, just to afford the average rent. That does not include any utilities. That does not include a car payment, insurance, gas, cell phone bill, internet access, food, heating, just a cold, empty box. 49 hours a week for a minimum wage worker.
It's despicable. Nobody should have to work 49 hours just to pay the rent. If you're working 40 hours a week, your rent should be covered by 10 of them. You shouldn't need to work 80 to 100 hours a week so that you can afford to spend 49 of it on just the fucking rent and still be able to get food and pay utilities too. Because it's not like you can even fucking manage to work 120 hours a week to fucking cover also being able to have a goddamn car and insurance and those fucking actual commodities either. We're talking about the essentials to survive being treated as fucking commodities. That's fucking insane. 49 hours a week just to cover the rent.
Completely agreed.
And Chairman Mao has a solution for this. Just saying.
So I have one more thing that I wanted to bring up. I already briefly mentioned it yesterday. There was a movement for a people's democracy interview panel Q&A thing with Tom Watts and Jake Hansberry, who is the current chairman of the White Panther Party, discussing, Pantherism and the White Panther Party specifically. I just dropped the Facebook video link in the comments. Whoops. I'm not sure where this is going to jump in. Trisha, were you able to attend this yesterday, or have you not been able to watch it yet?
I have not been able to watch it yet. No, I was still only semi-functional yesterday.
I gotcha. I'm gonna send you the link too. I watched it earlier today, and it's got some good stuff in it. But basically, I think that I'm just gonna play the first question, and like I said, the link is in. Now the link is pinned in the comments, but I guess it would probably help if I screen share, huh?
I'm very happy and honored to have you here tonight.
Sharing sound. Oh, never mind. Now it's starting to do the screen share.
My first question, and this is to both of you, but if we could begin with Tom. Could you give us a little background about yourself? Tell us about you. Tell us about your life and what brought you to the White Panthers, and just tell us a little about yourself.
Do you hear it, or should I try to turn
okay,
it?
Well, I got involved in politics during the Civil Rights Movement and joined the youth group of NAACP when I was like 13 or something. And then I hooked up with the White Panthers when I was 17 at the Yippie Festival of Life in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention. And at that time, they hadn't officially started the White Panthers yet. They just told me that Huey Newton had put out a call for white people to form a White Panther Party, and they were going to respond. And I said, well, count me in, So they gave me a red book, and I went back to Pennsylvania determined to start a White Panther chapter. I could talk all night about my life, but
Sure, we can get more into that. Jake, same question to you, and what brought you to the White Panthers?
Well, first and foremost, I say that you know, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you invited us. All power. I'm 23 years old. A lot of the large political movements happened when I was a lot younger. So the biggest one that came about was the George Floyd uprising, and that's really where I came on the scene out here in northern Indiana. We were working on direct action and things like mutual aid with an organization called NWI Solidarity, and that organization has since fizzled out. It was a joint group between the local anarchists and the local Marxist-Leninists, but it split because of divisions between those two factions. So I read about the United Panther movement, the White Panther Party. I was reading the stuff that Tom Watts was writing. So continuing that mutual aid, that direct action that we were doing in Indiana, I wanted to take what was left of that group and try to form up a White Panther chapter. So I contacted Tom, and this was probably 2021, mid 2021. The former chairman stepped down, halfway, a little over halfway through 2021. And since I was one of the only people on the ground doing work, I was selected. And so it's been a journey, learned a lot along the way. So
That's awesome. Thank you.
I mean, I don't, like I said, I want to encourage everybody to watch the whole thing, which is ultimately why I brought it up. But like I said, it is pinned in the comments. Speaking of the comments, Natalie said, Tom Watts is so knowledgeable and inspiring. And I elaborated on that, saying, I'm glad that we have the wisdom of not just Tom, but the other Second Rainbow Coalition elders to steer us in the right direction. I mean,
Right.
obviously, I don't know all of them, but the main two that I know and that I, have and I'm in the process of learning from are, Tom, first and foremost, I guess, but also Hy Thurman of the Young Patriots organization. And then, now there is, I mean, I don't know all of the elders. I really don't, but I know that Cha-Cha Jimenez of the Young Lords is, on the elders. I don't want to call it a board. What the hell would you call it? The Elders Council? Sure. But yeah, I mean, these people have so much collective experience. I mean, they've all been doing it since the 60s. So keep in mind that that's like pushing 60 years per person. And,
Right.
there's half a dozen of them or so involved. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's really all I have. I am going to find the link for the Second Rainbow Coalition Facebook.
I
They
shared
actually,
that
I'm sorry,
So-
what?
yeah. I shared the link on my page a few days ago because at least for the rest of the month, PBS is airing it for free.
I meant the Second Rainbow Coalition website.
Oh, I thought you meant the film. Never mind. But the film's great to
But
watch
yeah,
too.
yeah, it is on PBS for free right now. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It is part of the Panther education program. And I mean, for being from a publicly funded entity, it's not a bad perception of them. All right, into the comments. Let's see. Here is the Facebook for the Second Rainbow Coalition. I was going to send a link to December's newsletter. Their website is very, very simple. It's just Newsletter number 1 was January of last year, and newsletter 4 was of this year, sorry. And then newsletter number 4 is December of this year. That's all that's on their website is their newsletters. But by all means, secondrainbowcoalition.com. Check it out. Definitely give their Facebook page a like and a subscribe. I mean,
Did I freeze or did you? Think we lost Rob for a moment here. I don't know what's happening. Good stuff. All right. I don't know if his internet cut out because of the storm or what. Hell, I'm not even sure if you guys are still seeing my feed or not since it was being fed through his. But, yeah. We are about to wrap things up anyway. I'm exhausted, so I'm going to sign off. Y'all have a good night. Thank you for joining us. We will see you again next week.